Hello and welcome, beautiful soul. I am Natalia Walter, and it's always a pleasure to be here with you. Always an honor to be able to share this deep knowledge, this deep wisdom, experiences from my own life, from my own path. And today I want to be raw. I want to open up my heart to talk about spiritual leadership and how this changed my life completely. So let's find a comfortable position. Let's take a deep breath together because this is going to be very interesting. And I want to really open up my heart. So I invite you to open yours as well, to receive these transmissions, to receive these activations, and to receive this beautiful sacred knowledge that I'm about to share with you. So, hands on our hearts, releasing all the weight, all the expectations, tuning into this moment, tuning into ourselves. Inhale with me. And exhale, relax. Inhale. And relax. Let it go, let it flow. Inhale. And release. Thank you for being here. I see you. I love you. And I am here for you. Sharing my story, sharing my path to strengthen you, to inspire you, to empower you, and to remember you, the codes from your own soul. May I be this divine mirror. May I be this divine instrument of the divine. So, if you are new to this sacred dialogues with the higher self, let me briefly explain to you how this works. We have 8 profound and reflective questions channeled through this divine intelligence with the purpose of guiding our conversation today. So I'll start with number 1, and then you will see magic happens and we can flow beautifully through this episode. Question number 1. When did you first feel the call to lead? And how did you know it? How did you knew it? It wasn't coming from ego. So the funny part is that I didn't felt the call to lead. I was invited. In previous episodes, I shared a lot about my beginning as a spiritual leader, my first awakening with ayahuasca. Then we talked a lot about my spiritual development and what I've learned before I opened my spiritual center. And today we've reached this point where I'm going to share more about the first year of leading my own spiritual center. And if you watched the last episode, I've shared there that I actually didn't want to open the spiritual center. I was invited to do this me and my partner. So I received this interesting message from a previous client of mine, and she was asking if we worked with ayahuasca at the time without knowing anything about our path, about our story. And I said to her, no, we don't work with ayahuasca, no. And then a couple of days passed and she insisted. She said, well, you could, right? And that was my confirmation. So I knew this inner calling wasn't coming from ego because I didn't desire it, because I didn't force it, because I didn't create it from inside out. It actually came to me. And I'm not saying this is the only way to receive a spiritual calling or to receive the invitation to lead, to feel this urge that I'm here to lead people. But this is my story, so I'm sharing my point of view. And when she asked me if I wanted, actually, if I could do the work with ayahuasca, something within me answered before my mind even wanted to answer. And I interpret that as a spiritual confirmation that it wasn't just a desire, it wasn't just, how can I say, an ego impulse. It was deeper. It was coming from the outside. It was like the feeling that I had with my partner. It was like someone was knocking on our door saying, hey, let's open up this spiritual center. And we said yes. With courage, with bravery, because I was only 22 years old at the time. My partner was 27. And people from our social circle, especially from the ayahuasca social circle, they said to us, you are crazy. You're not ready for this. And I heard this from my godmother. I heard this from my godfather. They were our guides at the time. And they said, you are crazy. Because we had the experience of working in the spiritual center, but as guardians, not as the leaders of the ceremony, which is totally different. It's different being in this position of leadership from being in the position of someone who is there helping, but it's not carrying actually the weight, the responsibility of answering for that ceremony. Do you understand? So yeah, we had the experience of working with the medicine, helping people throughout the ceremony, but we didn't have the experience of being in the position of leadership of the spiritual center. And people would consider us too young to be in that position. But that was my first teaching of leadership. I trusted the call. I trusted the divine invitation that came through a blessed soul. I trusted that even if I didn't know exactly what to do, I would be guided. I trusted that even if I didn't have the maturity back then, I would be divinely inspired to be in that position. Because it wasn't by chance that this appeared to us in the moment that appeared. And so my sacred leadership started with the test of faith, of how much I trusted myself and this divine intelligence that was behind me. Because yes, when I go back in time and I reflect about myself with 22 years old, I consider myself back then a girl, naive, innocent. In terms of preparation, I only had the experience of working in the spiritual center, but these qualities of a leader, that was something that I had to awaken within me. And what no one tells you about this is that you are not born with those characteristics or with those abilities all set up for you. Actually, I think and I believe that is a remembering process. It was for me. I had the codes of leadership within me. My soul knew I was going to be a leader. But back then, I didn't have the experience yet. I had the soul codes. I had the sacred knowledge from my soul. But at a conscious level, I didn't had. I wasn't remembering until I've stepped into the role of leadership and started to really lead. And that was the turning point. That was the moment where I was initiated, where I was activated in this sacred role as a leader. And this is something that I would love to share with you as well, something that I've learned from my spiritual path so far. This thing about we saying yes, we answering some kind of call, we answering some kind of divine invitation. Usually it's an initiation into a new stage of soul development, into a new state of consciousness, of awareness. And I said yes. I said yes, stepping into my power, stepping into my role as a leader. Of course, part of me was, naive. It was innocent. It didn't have the clue of the weight of the responsibility of what I was accepting at that time. But I trusted. And perhaps if I knew exactly everything that was involved in assuming this role, I wouldn't have accepted. So I did because I trusted, and because my ego didn't know what was coming, but my soul knew, and that was enough. So even facing the judgment, the adversity, people criticizing us, saying that we weren't ready, we chose to trust the divine guidance, the divine invitation, the divine inspiration that was born within us. Less noise from the outside, more trusting inside, in this sacred knowing that we have. Number 2, what initiations prepared you for leadership, and which ones nearly broke you? That's a funny question. So I had some initiations before I've stepped into this sacred leadership role. I've mentioned one of them, which was a Reiki initiation, but I also had a shamanic initiation into the red path, with which I consider it was a very important step in my path as well, because that was the moment where I received the codes that were somehow asleep within me, that connected me from the codes of my soul, not just from this lifetime, but also from past versions of myself from past lifetimes. So this moment was very important as well. But I think that the greatest initiation that I've been through was the moment that I said, yes, I want this, I accept this. Because I had the free will to say, no, I'm not doing this. I don't feel ready, I don't feel able, I don't feel that this is for me. But I knew this was my purpose, this was my path, and I said yes. And I consider this as the most important initiation into my leadership role, which was exactly accepting the invitation to lead. And some people, they get stuck in this part because they think that they don't have the abilities, they don't have the capability of being in this position. But let me tell you something, and this is from deep within my heart. There are some things that you will just learn going through the experience. You have to go through it, you know? You cannot read it in a book, you cannot listen on a podcast, you have to live it. You have to go through the process. So from the moment that I said yes, I had the feeling that I was going through, let's say, a training for this leadership role. I was going through a preparation. And this lasted about 1 year, which was a year that we weren't receiving groups at our ceremonies. We were working only one-on-ones. So we were doing just individual ceremonies. This was important because we felt more safe, more secure to work just one-on-ones with people. And this is also something that I share with you if you are considering somehow stepping into this leadership role. And if you have the option to start from a place that feels more comfortable for you, that feels more safe to you, try this one. Go through this way, this path, because then you will sense if this is really aligned to you or if no, I think this doesn't resonate with me. So I believe that the divine orchestration of things prepared us during this year working just one-on-ones to see if we were really engaged, to see if we were really committed to assume this role. Because it wasn't any kind of leadership. It was spiritual leadership, which I consider that has a different kind of responsibility, a different kind of energy connected to it, if you know what I mean. But this is my opinion. Again, this is always something that I'm sharing from my point of view, something that I shared from my own experience. So this was the most important initiation. And when you ask me which ones nearly broke you, I've been through some very profound moments, some very profound initiations after I said yes and accepted the role as a sacred leader. And one that I consider that was very challenging and very intense was the moment that we needed to put order in our center. So we were going through a situation where we have these people working with us, helping us within the ceremonies, and they started to kind of mixed a little bit of the things that were happening. What do I mean about this? The roles, they weren't so clear to people. which means that we started to notice that they weren't respecting us as the leaders of the center. They were actually competing and creating this strange energy of, how can I say this, conflict. It was a conflictuous energy. And I sat with my husband. We were very overwhelmed at the time dealing with those people. And let me make myself very clear about this. I'm not judging anyone, and I'm not taking myself as the victim of the story, because I am not. But at the time, I, yes, considered myself as the victim because I was feeling threatened by those people. I felt that they were trying to somehow betray us or step into our role as the leaders of the center. So I was feeling threatened. And I sat to talk to my husband. I was feeling very overwhelmed about that. And that I consider it was an initiation into this voice of authority, of power, where I decided to cut off those people from our lives. It wasn't aligned anymore. And my husband was at the same time feeling the same things. We were really bothered about the situation. And he said he agreed with me, and we gather our strength, we gather our inner power, and we said, no more. We are not available for this kind of relationship anymore. And it was a very profound initiation, because we thought that those people, they were essential for us, for the house, the center, for everything that we were doing back then. But we were invited to remember that we were the ones leading the center. We didn't need anyone, at least not in that way, not in that dynamic. We were inviting people to work with us from a place of freedom, not obligation, from a place of peace, not conflict, from a place of maturity and not immaturity. So when we stepped into our role as leaders and we used our voice to command, this I accept, this I don't accept, that was a major initiation, because I was really attuning myself to my power, to my voice, and learning how to use this in a way that would be constructive and not destructive. Because in the past, and I recognize this, I used my voice in a destructive way. And I had to learn how to position myself in a way that I was honoring my space, that I was honoring my path, my inner calling, my purpose, but also establishing limits, establishing barriers. Yeah, I don't like so much this word, but we were establishing limits of what we would accept and what we wouldn't accept inside our spiritual center. So I can say to you that the most profound initiations that we've been through, most of them were related to people. And most of them were related to us learning how to use our power, our voice, our authority in a way that would be constructive. I nearly broke myself during this situation, during this phase, because I was attached to those people. But at the same time, I was remembering and reclaiming my power from emotional dependency that I've created from those people. And just a funny spoiler Today, we are best friends with those people. But in the past, it was a very serious drama that happened, necessary for us and for them. For us to develop ourselves as leaders and for them to develop themselves as well. So, absolutely necessary, but very challenging. Let's go on. Question number 3. How did your relationship with power change once you began to hold space for others? Yes. So I was talking about reclaiming power, right? And then we have this question. The first thing that I would love to share with you about this is that I had to learn how to center myself in my power before anything could happen, before I could even start to guide people in the sacred path of awakening, of spiritual development. So I've been through a lot of situations and experiences that were inviting me to reclaim my power from the outside world and recenter myself right here in my power, in my integrity, in my sacred space. Because, as I told you, I was very young when I started to hold space for others here in our sacred space, in our sacred center. I was very young. I was a girl. And sometimes I felt like people wouldn't respect me. They would look at me and they would see this little girl. They wouldn't see that woman in power, that leader. They would see a little girl. So I felt a lot of episodes in my life, I felt like I needed to prove myself. I needed to prove that I was worth it to be in that position. I felt like I needed to prove my value for people, to people actually. And so I was more trying to perform something, trying to be this empowered woman instead of actually being what I am in essence. Because that was a projection of my own insecurities. When I saw people challenging me, say, oh, but you are just a little girl. Oh, but you are so young. Oh, but you look so sweet. I was feeling challenged somehow. And that bothered me because I felt like I needed to prove that I was strong, that I was capable, that I was able to be there, especially guiding ceremonies with ayahuasca. So people would come to my place, people way older than me, and they would say, who is responsible for this ceremony? And I would say, me and my husband. And people would look at us and say, but you, like a boy and a girl. And it's funny to go back in time and remember this. But at the time, we felt challenged. We felt like we needed to prove something to people. But actually, we didn't have to prove anything. Because if people felt secure on having the medicine with us, we didn't have even to open our mouth to say anything. They would just fill into our field, into our energy. And another thing, we weren't doing those ceremonies alone. What about our spiritual allies? What about our ancestors? What about the medicine, which was guiding everything? So if I could say something to this girl in my past, the one who had the courage and the guts to go and assume this role as a leader, I would say, Congratulations for being so brave. But remember, you don't have to prove anything to anyone. If people want to receive your medicine, they will feel into your energy. You don't have to prove that you are strong. You don't have to prove that you are worth it. You don't have to prove that you have value. You simply are. In your essence, in your divine presence, that's enough. And this is an advice that I transmit to my past version of self, but I also transmit it to you that are considering stepping into this sacred leadership role, or you that are already acting as a leader and sometimes feel that you need to prove that you are good, that you are enough, that you are strong, that you are capable. You don't have to prove anything. You just have to be. Truth. You just have to be in your integrity. That's enough. Because if is a sacred purpose of your soul to be in this role, then you will be. It doesn't matter if people will judge you, if people will criticize you, if people will challenge you. You will be directed exactly where you need to be. And it doesn't matter how old are you, if you had previous preparation or not. The only thing that matters is that you said, yes, I accept. I'm in. Let's go. Let's move forward. I trust myself. I trust who is with me. I trust the guidance of my infinite self, of my consciousness. That's enough. Next question. What illusions about being a leader did you have to let go of? So, this thing that I just shared with you about having to prove something to someone was one of the biggest illusions that I dropped it. And working with the medicine, sometimes people would come to me and they would say like, do you have a degree to work with the medicine? Do you have like, what is your authority to work with the medicine? Who taught you how to work with the medicine? And I would say, the medicine chose me. The spiritual realms chose me for this purpose. Because this is not my first ride here. This is not the first time that I'm doing this, if you know what I mean. I've been in this place. And I'm remembering the soul codes that prepared me to be here now, acting just like I am acting, stepping into this sacred role. So in the past, I thought I had to have all the preparations and the spiritual degrees to be able to be in this place and to feel safe in this place. And today I understand that no, I have to have the confirmation from the medicine, from spirituality itself. And this is not something that another human being will give it to me, if you know what I mean. This is something that I will receive from the universe itself. This is something that I will receive from the medicine itself. So if the medicine chose me to be here, to be sharing this kind of message, to host my ceremonies, to host my retreats, This is because I was chosen for this. And this is because I was ready for this, even when my ego thought that I wasn't ready. So this was one of the illusions that I dropped as well, thinking that I had to be perfect to be in this role as a leader. And to find out that I didn't have to be perfect. I just had to be me. In essence, pure. I just had to be authentic. I just have to trust my gut, to be in sync with my soul. That was enough. And this was something that I've learned not a long time ago. So I've been here for more than 6 years now, hosting the ceremonies, acting as a leader. And it was not a long time ago when I realized that actually the medicine, the universe, life itself, they weren't asking me to be perfect. They weren't asking me to be strong all the time. They were just asking me to trust and to be myself. The best way that I can contribute with the world is being myself, unapologetically, in my raw truth, exactly as I'm being right now. Not forcing, not trying to perform anything. And this was something that came up for me in another spiritual awakening that happened not a long time ago. Because from the moment that I've stepped into this role until now, I had to go through a series of detachments from the beliefs that I used to hold about being a leader, and not just a leader, but a spiritual one. So here I'm sharing with you, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be real. You just have to trust your essence, trust your soul, and the rest will be taken care of. Next question. What was the hardest moment in your first year leading your spiritual center, and what did it teach you about yourself? I consider that the hardest moment that I've been through was that situation that I've shared in the beginning of this video about the people who were challenging me, the people who threatened me and threatened my position as a leader. And I thought that I had to reply with this posture of I'm strong all the time and I'm ready for this, and I have to prove something to someone. So these moments, they really teach me how to reclaim my power from the outside world and trust that I was ready and trust that I was able to be there, really connected with my soul and really connected with the spiritual realms and the divine orchestration that was taking place in my life. So I think I've already answered this question. Let's move forward. What have you learned about the spiritual ego in others and in yourself? Good one. I think that the ego, it's not something that we should fear, but it's something that we should learn how to love. And this is something that changed my life as well, because in the beginning of my spiritual journey and the spiritual development that I've shared in the previous episode, I thought that I had to fight against my ego, that I had to kill it, that the ego was a threat, that the ego was dangerous. that the ego was something that was bad. But recently, I've changed completely my perspective around this. So I would say to you, you don't have to kill your ego. You just have to learn how to love it. Because think here with me, the ego is trying to protect you. The ego serves you. Perhaps not in the way that you expected, but it's there, functioning for something. Of course, that when we are totally controlled by our ego and we are not aware of how the ego is controlling us or how it is somehow leading our lives, we can go into some very strange places. But I'm telling you about this place of awareness where you see yourself, where you recognize your ego and you are not trying to destroy it, because it is a sacred part of yourself and it is serving a higher purpose. When I realized this changed everything for me, because I was in this constant struggle with the ego, thinking that I couldn't feel like this or feel like that, or that I was being good or I was being bad by thinking like this, by acting like that. And I was constantly judging myself. And actually, this judging position doesn't come from consciousness. Consciousness doesn't judge you. It accepts you unconditionally. When I was in this position of constantly judging me, I was actually given more credit to my ego than to my consciousness. And I was somehow weakening myself, always criticizing myself, always being so tough with myself, especially in this position as a leader. So I thought I had to be perfect all the time. I thought that I had to be strong all the time, that I couldn't show up being vulnerable, having fear, or feeling like I had my own doubts, or feeling like I had my own questions. And when I was feeling a little bit down or out of sync in my own vibe, in my own frequency, I would be very rude to myself. And I would be very tough with myself as well. So this thing about the spiritual ego, I've learned how to love it, how to accept it, how to stop judging it, and just allow it to be what it is. I see you. And sometimes the ego just wants your attention, just wants you to recognize it. Because if you, as a consciousness, as presence, as awareness, is not able to recognize, to see your ego, the ego itself will seek this validation, will seek this recognition outside, from someone, from someplace, from something. And that's the thing, that's the problem. Because that's the moment where we start developing those emotional dependencies, where we are searching in the world for the validation, the acceptance that only ourselves can give us. Does this make sense to you? Because this was a major breakthrough for me. This was a major turning point for me. Stop judging the ego. Stop treating it like a villain, like someone that I have to destroy, like someone that I have to kill, because no, you are part of myself. And I love you exactly the way you are. I see you. I recognize you. You are here serving a higher purpose. And so I choose to trust you. I choose to change the way that I treat you. Instead of looking at you like a threat, I prefer to look at you as a friend. And from the perspective of consciousness, you are not broken. There is nothing inside of you that needs fixing. Everything is perfect. You are in this sacred spiritual development process. And your ego, it is a part of the process as well. But I don't see the resolution as killing the ego or destroying it. I prefer to see this as we, as consciousness, in the divine presence, teaching the ego. Look at the difference. This totally changes the frequency on how we treat ourselves. Because think with me, if we are constantly trying to destroy the ego, we are also trying to destroy ourselves. And this is not a very smart move, where we are always trying to find something to fix, always trying to find something to complain about or to judge about ourselves. And this is something that will be projected in other people. So, if you are constantly judging yourself or rejecting yourself, rejecting your ego, guess what is going to happen with other people in your life? They will be constantly judging you. They will be constantly rejecting you. They will be constantly looking for things to complain about you because they are mirrors. And so when I decided to make peace with my ego and to accept it as it is, not trying to change it, not trying to destroy it, just educating, my whole life changed because I dropped that weight that I was carrying in my back. This was revolutionary, and I hope it is for you as well. Okay, number 7. What does it mean to you to walk in service? And what has it required from your human self? Whoa. This is a profound one. To walk in service. I understand that I have a higher purpose to be here. That I'm not here simply to satisfy my human desires or my ego desires. We were talking about the ego, right? I feel like I'm here attending a deeper call from my soul. So this thing about walk in service is to realize that we are always changing something with the world. We are always offering something. Our medicine, our essence, our energy, our wisdom, our experience. And so it really doesn't matter how you choose to offer your medicine to the world. What matters is that this resonates with this deeper calling that you sense that is always guiding you. This inner knowing that there is something bigger for you here than just satisfy your human needs or desires. And when I started in my spiritual path as a leader, I thought that I had to sacrifice everything to be there, to show up, to be available, to be present, to be in service. And this was a very profound belief that I had about being a spiritual leader. Recently, I've been going through a major transition in my life, a major transmutation of old beliefs and old structures. And this was something that came up for me because I was always sacrificing something of myself to be in this position. And then consciousness, spirit started to talk to me about the sacrifice. You don't have to sacrifice yourself to be in this position. You don't have to deny your human needs or your human desires to walk in service. You don't have to go from one extreme to another. You can find a balance in between. Because before my first spiritual awakening, I was in this place where I didn't care. I was just living myself and just really being there for me, like satisfying my own needs and my own desires, if you know what I mean. After the spiritual awakening, I went from this extreme to the other. I thought I had to always be at service, that I had to always do something for someone, even when I had to deny my own needs, my own callings, my own desires. And recently I was invited to reframe this perspective, to change the way I was dealing with this thing about walking in service and being in service. And the conclusion that I came after a deep reflection, after a deep dive into myself, was this: I don't have to sacrifice myself to be in this role. I don't have to deny my individuality to be worth it or to be honorable. Again, I just have to be myself and follow the intuition that is always guiding me. So I remember days and times where I would sacrifice everything to give something to someone, trying to save everyone, trying to please everyone. And this was another illusion that I had to come through after I stepped into this sacred role as a leader, which was, I don't have to please everyone. I have my tribe, and my tribe will find me by resonance and not by force, you know? I don't have to convince anyone. People will feel into my field and they will know you were the guy that I was looking for. You were the leader that I was looking for. So I really don't have to convince anyone. But in the past, I thought I had. And this was a major illusion of having to sacrifice myself, of having to convince someone that I was right or that this was the right path for them, when actually it wasn't. Learning to respect the free will of others and myself was a huge win for me. Huge win. And this is something that I share here from a place of integrity, from a place of maturity, because it took me a few years to get into this place where I've learned that I don't have to sacrifice myself. I prefer to nourish myself first, to be in my 100% so I can really, what's the word? There's a perfect word for this. I'm sorry, I'm not recalling, but then I can share with you my 100%. I am not trying to desperately convince you or desperately trying to, no, I'm just being myself. I'm nourishing myself and I'm sharing what I feel called to share. This is sacred leadership. I show up when I feel inspired to and not when I feel obliged to. There is a huge difference. So I feel that I walk in service with so much more beauty, with so much more flow when I'm on this place of inspiration, when I'm on this place of really sharing with abundance and not from a place of lack, of trying to convince, of trying to, no, not my vibe. I am here because I want to, because it resonates with me, because I am attending a sacred calling from my soul. Be myself and really nourish myself, be in my 100% is one of the best ways that I have to help you, because when I am in this place, when I am full, I am ready to share from this place of abundance and not from a place of lack. Last question from today's episode. What message would you give to those who are feeling the call to lead, but are still afraid of what will cost them? If you are still afraid that you will lose something stepping into this place of leadership, I invite you to reflect deeply on this feeling of, what are you losing actually? Reflect. Reflect about the fear of losing, whether that would be freedom, whether that would be, I don't know, your intimacy. Reflect, because stepping into this role has to be a full body yes. It cannot be like, I don't know, that energy that is not a full body yes. Because if you're not in this full body yes, you are not in your power, you're not trusting yourself. And to be in this place, you really have to trust yourself. Otherwise, in the first test, you will feel like, no, this is not for me. So before you say yes, before you even consider to be in this place, reflect. What would change in your life if you indeed assume this role as a leader? And reflect if you are willing to detach from this past version of yourself that you consider to be more safe, and see if you are really willing to step into the unknown, to step into this new challenging role as a leader. And when I say challenging, please understand that it's a positive challenge. If you are in a full body yes, you will be tested, your limits will be stretched, but this is part of your soul's evolution. So really tune into your body, tune into yourself, and feel if this is a full body yes, or if you are trying to perform, or if you are seeking validation, or if you are seeking recognition from someone else rather than yourself. Because if you are in this place of seeking something from the outside and considering being a leader to somehow achieve those things that you are seeking, then I invite you to take a step back and reconsider. Because as a leader, remember this, no one will be able to recognize yourself, to validate yourself, to accept yourself, to love yourself the way only you can do. So the thing is, do you really love yourself? Do you really see yourself for who you truly are? If you are in this place and you have a noble intention, you know that this is part of your soul path, then go forward. If you are in this full body, yes, go forward. If you are in doubt, take a step back and reconsider, because doubt, it's always a no. A full body yes, it's a full body yes. Doubt is a signal that something here must be rearranged before we move forward. So I invite you to talk to this doubt, talk to those fears, and visualize yourself stepping as a leader. And always ask yourself, what is moving me? What is motivating me to be in this world? What is my purpose? Why? Connect with your why, even if this why it's not logical, even if it's a feeling, connect with it. This is your sacred anchor. This is what will guide you. Perhaps if you face some kind of adversity, of some kind of storms in the way, this why, this purpose will keep you moving, will anchor you in your power. So this is what I feel to share, and this is what I feel to advise you right now. So, wow, it was a deep dive, and oh my gosh, I thank you so much for being here. I hope this helps. And if you feel like going even deeper into these soul codes about leadership, if you are considering this, or if you are, in this phase where you are willing to, but you are still afraid, or you feel like you need more preparation, we can talk. I offer my spiritual mentorships and also my work with the oracle cards with tarot. If you feel the call, we can definitely arrange a session for you. And also, if you feel the call, the pull to come here in Brazil and have a sacred ayahuasca ceremony for us, it will definitely be a pleasure to hold sacred space for you. And always, if you feel like sharing anything with me, if you feel like connecting more, you can find me also on Instagram, inspirit.natalia. And I would love to hear more about you. I would love to hear insights about this episode and everything that I've just shared here with you. Once again, thank you so much. Many blessings, much love for you and everything that life has to offer for you in the most beautiful ways. I wish, I intend for you to be very happy, very successful, and very enlightened in your path. See you soon. Lots of love. And yes, bye-bye.